One of the most important skills in improving at League, and even really at anything that you're trying to improve at, is knowing what things to let go of and not overemphasize certain scenarios. And what I mean by this is that we have limited capacity and mental energy to really put towards our improvement process. If we're trying to refine every single little thing, it's going to be insanely mentally draining, and it's not actually going to give us that much results for the effort we're putting in. This goes back to the idea of the 80-20 rule, where we want to put our efforts into the things that are going to have the most impact. So to kind of give you guys an example of what I'm talking about here, think of a game where you're playing, and for example, if you're the mid laner, it's like both side lanes are losing, jungle's getting invaded all the time, you're in a bad matchup, and even despite trying to go even, keep up your CS, or even find roams, the game just does not go well. I had this happen recently where I was in probably one of the worst matchups mid lane that I can play, and after my bot lane was already losing, despite getting a roam off and shutting down their ADC, they were still losing the 2v2, and I wasn't really able to find that much impact after that. Now initially I was a bit frustrated at this game, and it's not like unreasonable to be frustrated, but I felt like I really just had no options, and I kind of thought to myself, well, yeah, that's fine. Sometimes there happens to be games where you don't really have a lot of options. Maybe if I was in a winning matchup mid, I could do more. Maybe if one of my side lanes was winning, I could have done more. Maybe if my jungle had a little bit more prio, we could have done more. But realistically, that game is not worth spending a lot of time on and reviewing. Like, I can sit there and try to craft like the perfect way that I can win the game or try to find some sort of advantage, but is it really worth that mental strain to go through that? Chances are probably not. But one of the reasons that it's really hard to let go of things like this is because if we pretend like it actually matters, if we pretend like those are the things that are holding us back, it almost gives us an excuse as to why it's not possible or feasible for us to improve and climb. Because if the games where everyone else on our team is losing is the reason that we're stuck in our elo, then, well, it kind of gives us an excuse like, oh, this game is just too hard and unfair, so I don't really want to improve anyways. Realistically, there are a lot of other reasons why you're not climbing. And even in those hard games, it's not to say that you didn't make mistakes. And for sure, there are probably possibilities where you could climb. But remember, we're trying to maximize the amount of improvement that we get without exerting so much mental energy that it just becomes too draining. Now, one of the biggest issues here is if you adopt this mentality and you lean too far on the side of, oh, don't worry about anything when the mistakes are actually fixable. So an example here is people thinking that their teammates are completely uncontrollable and they can't do anything to actually call plays and they just have to let their teammates do whatever. One of the classics about this is mid laners thinking that Mia pings in the middle of the lane do anything. For the longest time, it's like, oh, well, I'm pinging, missing mid, so my team should just kind of like get the idea, and if they don't, then that's like completely their fault and I shouldn't worry about it. Well, realistically, actually, there's a way better way to go about this. People start realizing that if you throw danger pings down the path of the roam, through the river or whatever it may be, people listen way better. And you actually give them an idea of what's happening so that they can make a correct decision. So this is a situation where we can't just write it off and be like, yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. I did what I was supposed to do. But realistically, there was a higher level that we could have achieved. Now, is it easy to figure that out? Maybe, maybe not. But as long as you adopt a curious mindset and also are realistic with yourself, I think that you'll be fine. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, you know? Let's just see how far the wheel can take us before we start trying to go too crazy with it. Being able to differentiate how important a mistake is in your game is a skill that you'll constantly need to develop as you go through any improvement process, because the better you are at it, the more efficient your improvement will be. And honestly, that's probably one of the most important things at learning anything. You want to put all of your efforts and focus on the things that are going to get you the most quick improvement. Even now, I struggle with this, and I find it really easy to get frustrated at things that maybe aren't worth getting frustrated at. And trying to draw the line between noise and signal is incredibly difficult, but it truly is one of the most important skills that you can develop.